50 years of independence. Is there anything to celebrate?
Of course, there is always something to celebrate for as long as you are alive and kicking. We have a saying in my part of the world that you will be thankful to God if you are somebody who is a deep thinker and you reflect about situations of your life, of what has happened, of the history and things about you. And in Nigeria, we have the same situation. Now, this is a country we have gone through ups and downs. We have had a civil war. We have had all sorts of things that had threatened our existence. But rather than being out of existence as a country, we have waxed stronger at every stage. We emerged from the Civil War more united, and we came out with the slogan, "No victor, no vanquished." And of course, after the Civil War, we accepted from 3 or 4 regions to 12 states. Well, of course, we have gone to the other extreme of too many states, but, well, if that is the price we have to pay for unity, so be it. And then we have had the worst of military dictatorship under Abacha, and we survived it. Yes, we have not been where we should have been in terms of economic and social development. I think one must admit that. But we have not broken up like Pakistan, that had broken into Pakistan and Bangladesh. We have not broken up like Yugoslavia. And when you take everything together, our economic situation, our social situation today is definitely better than it was 50 years ago.
I've spoken to some people, Your Excellency, you know, while trying to make this film, who say life under colonial rule was actually better. They had water, they had electricity. Why have things gotten worse in some respects?
Well, the man who told you that, I don't know what he was judging. And I will give you example. Here where you have met me in this town is where I went to secondary school for 6 years. I was born in a village not too far from here. When I was going to school here, the population of this town, which is over 500,000 today, is not up to 100,000. So the water that you need to give to the people, what is it? In 1976, when this town became a state capital, the power being generated is 3 megawatts to serve this town. 3 megawatts of electricity. In my farm today, we are consuming more than 5 megawatts of electricity. In my farm in Ota. Now, so the man will say to you, yes, we had water, we have electricity. For how many, what is the population? When I started secondary school in this town, end of the 1940s, beginning of the 1950s, there were only 2 secondary schools in this town. In what is Ogun State today, there were only 4 secondary schools. Today, in Ogun State, there are 10 universities, not secondary schools, 10 universities. Now, if you say that is not progress, then what is progress? Now, what has happened is that our population has ballooned, and we have not moved. The infrastructure and the social facilities have not moved at the pace that our population had increased. I would be the first to admit that. But then to use that and say, look, when you have 5 children to deal with, and you say, well, everybody is eating 4 times a day, and then you have 100 to deal with, and you say, well, look, they are just managing 3 meals a day, and therefore your situation is worse. I won't put it that way. I will say in totality, our situation is better because our population has increased. I think at independence, our population was what? Not more than 50 million. Today we are more than 150 million. And if you have to deal with a population of 150 million from 50 million, then you must realize that there will be more required of you, more demanded of you than you were given.
Okay, I want to ask another question. Are you guys happy with the setup? Everything looks all right? Excellent. Yes, I mean, on the issues of infrastructure and basic services for people, Nigeria has struggled.
Yeah.
But how do you then explain some of the more serious problems like religious and ethnic conflict that seems to be perpetual here?
My dear sister, I have always explained this. Take the Jos, and I think you have been in Jos to see the situation. People go for the stereotype, oh, it is religious conflict. But it is not religious conflict. Our Christian leaders and Muslim leaders, all coming together, have said, after examining the situation in Jos, that the Jos situation is not a religious conflict. And I know Jos. I believe that the Jos situation is long, old, and long-standing ethnic rivalry, economic competition, and look at the type of thing that happens. You have, and this has always been there, you have the nomadic people taking their cattle, and then you have the arable farmers. They have never been friends because the nomadic cattle rearers, they take their cattle either in search of grass or in search of water, and any farm they go through, they devastate it. Now, what the arable crop farmer will do is chase them and kill them and club them, and the nomadic cattle rearers will fight back. Now, unfortunately, the normal nomadic cattle rearers are mainly Muslims. The normal arable farmers who regard themselves as indigenous to the land are mainly Christians. So when that develops into an economic issue, developing into competition or even into violence, now we take the easy way out. Oh, it is Muslim versus Christian. But is it really? The underlying factor is economic, social, not religious.
Democracy in Nigeria, how is it doing? How is Nigeria's stride towards
I
democracy?
I think we are doing fairly well. In the last 6 months of this year, or the first 6 months of this year, we've had an unnecessary crisis created by the ailing and the late president because of his illness. Well, we'll emerge from that, I believe, better than some people had feared. Some people fear that the military will probably step in. The military didn't step in. Some people felt that, oh, it may be the end of Nigeria as a corporate entity. That didn't happen. Some people said that, look, it may mean tampering with the operation of our constitution. None of all those things happened. Unfortunately, the ailing president died. May his soul rest in peace. And the constitution took its normal course. The vice president, acting president by the time the ailing president died, took over, was sworn in. He nominated another person to take over as vice president. That nomination was confirmed by the Senate. Now, so what did we find? For the first time in our country, we had a minority, somebody from the minority areas, becoming the president of the country, which, in my mind, should strengthen the unity of the country, because not normally what you say is, oh, the majority. No. Now, we have the number one man in the country as of today from the minority, the number two from the majority, the number three, the Senate president, from the minority, the number four from the majority, the number five, the CJN, from the minority. Now, these are things that probably 30 years ago were unthinkable. So we must recognize that is strengthening our unity. There will be those who will continue to shout and to talk. They don't mean well for the country. They probably mean well for themselves. But these are things that I believe God himself is allowing to happen in the best interest of Nigeria. Again, our democracy has been strengthened because we have done everything that should be done according to our constitution, which is, again, democratic. And so, for me, yes, that crisis was unnecessary, but in the final analysis, it has done us more good than ill. Now, again, the point one must say about Nigeria is that this is a country where there is never a dull moment. It's a country that is full of excitement. In fact, what you will find is that at times, when there is no excitement, we have a way of stirring up excitement for ourselves. And yes, never a dull moment in Nigeria. And you must get used to it. That takes me to the point that I was told that one former Secretary General of the United Nations was asked if he wasn't living in his country, where would he like to live? And he was reported as saying he would like to live in Nigeria. I say, well, why Nigeria? He said, well, in Nigeria you wake up in the morning, it will appear as if the country is falling apart from the seams. And then in the evening, you'll find that there's peace and tranquility, and as if nothing had happened. That's our country. It's probably, again, one of the things that make Nigeria a different country from other countries. And whatever we need to do to improve on our performance, on our situation, we should do. But we must not never be found wanting of loving Nigeria. I love Nigeria.